Morkin and the Lords of Midnight is a solo RPG game that's based on the 1980s Spectrum computer game that I actually never played. I'd never heard of it. But in playing this with the plot and the fun that I've had, kind of wish I did. Now, the book itself has been sent to me by Juan. He contacted me a few months ago. He's like, do you want, I see you do a review of solo games and you've started playing solo. Would you like to play this? And I was like, actually, I said, I've never heard of it. I've never heard of the computer game at all either. And it's really good. It's a nice rules-like D100 rollover system where an evil sorcerer has taken over the land and he's sort of created a perpetual sort of frozen winter. And within 30 days, the solace is going to come in and the world is going to change for the worst forever. So you, the player, Morkin, you are a half fae, half human. So the good news is you've got dark vision. You get to see in the dark, which makes dungeons and stuff a little bit easier. But yeah, you've got 30 days to get to his tower, destroy the Ice Crown, and save the kingdom. 120 turns as the game breaks it down. That's it. And I've not managed it yet because, well, let's say I'm very unlucky in dice rolls, but let me just show you where you can pick this up if you fancy it after you've watched my review. Then, as ever, I'll show you through page by page, explain the rules, how the book works, etc. So here we have a link on Drive for RPG. It can be picked up, so you can get it in the PDF copy only or physical copy, as you can see over my shoulder here. So PDF is what, 15.13, so it's probably about 19 US dollars, and then it was currently on sale for the hardback cover, which is really nice. Comes in at 42, so it's probably about $50, somewhere along those lines. You are going to get some character sheets and some reference sheets for creating it, because one thing this book has a lot of is tables at the back, and you're basically going to be working off a hex crawl to sort of get across the land, as well as you're going to have like these adventure sheets as well, which we will show you as they come up in the book. So it comes in at 295 pages. There's a lot in here once I show you the content. The artwork is amazing throughout. I say it, if you are a fan of the game, I think this will be very familiar, but I don't know. I'd never heard of it. Actually, I had an Amstrad, not a Spectrum, so maybe I just missed this by a little bit. But we've got all the weather tables. There's an ice fear factor that's going to make it harder to go and recruit companions as time goes on throughout the adventure. And they're obviously going to make you tougher. They're going to increase your skills. You've got hunger, fatigue, poisoning, and bleeding mechanics in here. And then as well as pages of bestiaries and, more importantly, unique creatures to fight. Oh, did I mention that one of the companions you can get is a dragon to come and fight alongside you, which is epic. So just before I get into it, obviously if you are going to pick this up, please do consider using my affiliate link, because any money generated on the affiliate link will be basically just put back to further reviews like this. For full disclosure, Juan actually sent me a copy of this. I haven't been paid for it, and I say that he hasn't asked me to review it. He was just like, are you interested? Only a fool says no to especially more solo games. I'm really getting into playing solo stuff in my spare time when I can actually find it. So here we have the amazing front cover for Morkin, and so if you get the physical copy, this is all shiny on the front as well, so it does look really cool. Dedicated to his wife and his daughter here. So it comes in 296 pages. So the book itself, we've got, so it's the Lord of Midnight solo adventure game by Juan Diaz Bustamante, I think. Really sorry if I've managed to butcher that like I normally do. Got a variety of game designers, artists in here. The artwork's done by Miguel R, which is, I would say, really good through it. So the copy I've got, it looks, even in the print, it looks very sort of line drawing. It sort of really stands out in the page. One thing I would say, actually, the copy I've got is black pages, but it's silver writing, which is weird because I always moan about black writing black pages with silver writing, with white writing. This with silver, really, really easy to read. So I don't know. It draws inspiration from the amazing Connethelus and a list of games, other things. I say I've had the One Ring, Forbidden Lands, but things like Disciplines of Bone and Shadow, Broken Shores, Barbarian Prince, I think are things I'm probably going to need to have to check out. And I don't know whether these are games. It does here acknowledge Mike Singleton and Chris Wild, which are the original creators of the game. So we're going to get to the index. The index is quite long on this, but it's sort of spread out to sort of show everything in here. So we're going to get the initial introduction, what you need to play, talk about the character sheet, the adventure sheet, and the map. So these things you're going to need to print off to have nearby. Caverns and ruins sheets. And then we've got the map of the different types of terrain, sites that you can discover. The final boss is going to be in the Tower of Doom once you get there. If you get there, there's a reason I think you can tell why I go with if. You're going to then go with character creation, where you can do your attributes, some skills, you get a few masteries, which is going to give you another plus 10 onto your sheet. As I said, it's roll D100, roll under, so Call of Cthulhu, Warhammer Fantasy, any of those sort of games, it was going to feel very familiar. Character creation, as you earn experience for killing things and finding things, you're going to be able to increase some of your attributes up here. Then get weather tables, different conditions, the ice factor that's going to make things harder every 10 days as the adventure goes on. Then different actions you can have, and they vary during the day. Say days are divided into 4 actions or 4 quarters, which we'll talk about when we get there. Then we got exploring Snowhall, caverns, ruins, how the combat works, healing conditions, and then we got a bunch of stuff that I'm going to try not to spoil, because as you can see here, we've got all these events that I probably should have said earlier. It's all hyperlinked. Always happy to see hyperlinked stuff. So we have got, what's that? Is it 153 different events? Now these are sort of choose your own adventure. So if you're aware of Final Fantasy type books, those sort of things, this very much becomes a choose your own adventure. I will show you one as we get there. Then we've got a load of quests. So these are things when you're going into the caverns and ruins, you will get a quest to go and find a quest room, which maybe, you know, save the mayor, find a magic item or something. It's got all the rules to actually build out all your caverns as you go through as well, which is, it's really, really quick and inspiration. I can see, you know, when it talks about, you know, taking influence from Kernethelus, it kind of, there are aspects that very much feel that, you know, it's a very similar process the way you go. I then got this bestiary here, which is going to take you through the bandits, direwolves, Doomdark's assassin, Doomdark, main big bad guy, which we'll come on to in a second. A load of different trolls, then you unique opponents in here as well, all the way going through to people that I, again, don't want to spoil. And then the last pages are tables. My advice, print all of these off to make things easier up until 280. So you're going to want to print off from 246 to 280. You're going to want all this nice and easy to hand. And also you're going to want the character sheets and adventure maps. So say they are also within the DriveThruRPG link itself. So then let's just get into the main book. So we've got a little bit memoriam here for Mike Singleton, who looks like he sadly passed away in 2012, said the creator of the game. It came out in 1984, so little Mr. Me was 10 years old at that time. And I don't think my parents, no, we didn't have the Amstrad till a little bit longer. But anyway, let's get into the introduction and the setting. So Doomdark was once known as Griffallan the Wise. So he was a wise sorcerer. And, well, he decided that his lord wasn't doing things the way he wanted to. So, you know, as they do, they betray, kill the lord, take over, and he changed his name to Doomdark, the Night Witch of Midnight, which reflected his full-on inspiration from there. And so slowly the world then became ice-filled. So all of his powers are through this ice crown, and that is the whole idea of the game. So you are starting down the south of the map, and the plan is to get into the tower, destroy the crown, and so you've got 30 days so the winter solace kicks in, which is when his big magical act is going to take place. But the Land of Midnight isn't completely bad. There are different places that will help you. So I kind of get the impression that in the original computer game, there was a party of 4, because it does name 3 other people. And it's solo quest, but you start out on yourself, and they have gone out into 3 other areas deliberately to go and try and recruit people to help you. So it will just give you, again, I'm just trying to keep this as spoiler free as possible, because you will discover them out and about, and they do help make things a bit easier when you discover them. You are half Fae, which is why you've been selected, because the place is dark, as you can imagine, a winter place, and Being half fae, it means that you are dark adapted for those that you are shadow dark fans. So yeah, you see in the dark. It makes going through tunnels and stuff easier. So variety of the companions are, you also do start with a horse, which I think is quite sweet, because it actually, when it talks about encountering places, the people that can see in the dark can go in, so that's fine, and it always tells you to leave your horse outside. What you're going to need to play, obviously this book, pencil, eraser, characters, some sheets of paper, some dice, and a journal. It does make sense to actually keep a journal, write down, discover what's going on. It means you can come back after a few days if you do take a break and know what's going on. You will need the character sheet, you'll need the adventure sheet, you will need a map, and you will also need the runes and cavern sheets. You're going to want several of those. From a dice point of view, D6, D10s are pretty much all you're going to need. So you're going to roll D6 a lot of the time for damage. And some of the random tables, some of them are D66 tables. But most of the dice rolls in this game are going to be D100. So you're going to need a 2 10s dice, have them different colours if you haven't got a proper 10s unit. And you're just going to roll them. The first one that you roll will be your 10s. The next one will be your unit. So if you roll a 6 and an 8, it's 68. It's as simple as that. As we get into the map, there are different terrains that are going to come on the map. So we've got things like plains, mountains, forest, downs, and frozens. And depending on the terrain will determine how fast you're going to move across them. What I want to do is just quickly show you the map here. So to give you an idea of the epicness of the task in front of you, we're going to be starting down south here in the Tower of the Moon. Hopefully you can see with my the sort of mouse moving around. That is number 1. And then we've got number 12 here is the Tower of Doom. So spread throughout these, I say we've got the different locations like runes, caverns, liliths, and things like that. And also, say we've got the different terrains that you're going to travel across, which will determine the speed and how fast you travel. Each hex is 2 miles, and you can do a hex in a quarter, mostly, depending. So you can go a little bit faster, depending on horseback and things like that. And say some of them will have specific locations, other ones will have random locations here as well, okay? But there are 12 with numbers on, and that will mean something when you discover them, because something slightly different or more narrative is going to take place when you're there. So let's just get back into the book. We've got different sites we said that we're going to be. So we've got things like citadels, towers, hedges. Hopefully that should make sense from what we saw, snow halls and stuff. Here we've got the 12 sites here from the Tower of the Moon all the way to Tower of Doom. Say I'm going to kind of skip through because I don't want to ruin anything. But the Tower of the Doom is the imposing, ominous structure that dominates the frozen landscape. And this is the big battle. This is what you're trying to get to go and fight and get rid of Doomdark and destroy his crown. Say try. I've not managed to succeed it. And once if you manage to destroy the crown, that's it. Your quest is done. Well, as I said earlier, 30 days, that's it, which in essence is 120 actions. So let's get into character creation. So we've got 5 attributes here: strength, dex, intelligence, and charisma. And strength, physical fighting, things like that. Dexterity, I probably should say there are no classes, no races. When it comes to combat, everything's hand to hand. So you're up front, face to face with people, so you don't need to worry about dexterity if you're looking to fire bows and stuff. This isn't that game. Okay, so strength is going to be your physical fighting. Dexterity, agility, proficiency, picking locks is quite important. Intelligence is going to be your mental sharpness, problem solving, and then we've got charisma, your influence to negotiate with animals, things like that, and also get you better prices when you're trading, because this still does have a sort of economy that goes in there, and there's markets that you're going to buy and sell things, especially when you kill creatures as well. You're going to be able to take sort of loot the body to then go and sell items and artifacts or parts of them to help you feed and stuff. But you're initially going to assign 50 points to one attribute, 40 to a second, 30 to the third, 20 to the last. And so remember, this is D100, so if you've got 50 in strength, you're going to roll in 50 or less on a D100, and you're going to succeed. We've then got an element of skills in the game, and your skills are going to be worked out. So for example, animal handling here is just going to default to your charisma. So if you've got a charisma of 30, your animal handling is 30. But let's find one that I can make the maths quite easy. So we've got foraging here. So we're going to divide our dex by 2, add it to our int divided by 2. So they're all basically, some of them will just be adding straight skills and stuff like that. So that's just going to give you an amount in skills. Most skills well, you're not really going to have any skills that start above 50 for obvious reasons in here. But the good news is you're then going to get to distribute an additional 50 points amongst there to a maximum of 60 in any skill. We then get a mastery finally as well, and you're going to be able to pick one mastery initially, which is going to give you, for example, if you go weapon mastery, you're going to get +1 in melee, or you can have shield mastery +1 in defense, or this sometimes might go in your favor. Things like if you have harvester, it's going to give you a +10 in a foraging skill, which is going to help you feed and give you some additional food as well. Or you can take locksmith, which is going to +10 in locksmithing, and it's going to give you 5 lockpicks as well. You're then going to get some additional final touches. So 50 XP, we're going to get a defense value, which is going to be based on your equipment. You've got some fatigue, which is going to start at 0, bandages that are going to start at 0, rations at 5, lockpicks at 0. We're going to get some money, which is going to be basically your charisma divided by 2. You're going to get some additional coins as well, so you can go and buy some equipment, or the equipment tables in the back, and you do get a horse. Now, as you find things, mostly kill things, you're going to get experience, and every time you get to 20 XP, you're going to increase one of your attributes by +1. And as you can see, by increasing an attribute by +1, sometimes that means a skill is going to go up by 2. Finally, one thing to remember is no skill can ever exceed 80 in here, unless it is increased by one of your companions or special item that you've got. A little bit of game flow mechanics here. So if you ever roll below a 5, a natural 5 on a skill, that counts as a critical. And you're immediately going to increase that skill by +1. Again, to a maximum of 80. The flow of the game is really actually simple. It's basically 6 parts, but most of the time you're only going to be sort of replaying a couple. Right at the start of the day, when you first awake, you're going to check the weather. You're going to roll a d10, and it's going to either have the same weather as the same day, the previous day. It's going to be clear, whatever it may be, raining, and some will have effects like increase your orientation and camping skills. Others, the 9 and heavy wind or heavy snow, are going to give you penalties to skills and endurance, because that heavy wind and heavy snow can make, that harshness it's just going to take it out of the character. You're then going to check your group conditions. So you could check for every member whether they've got poisoning, bleeding, hunger, or exhaustion. We'll come on to that very soon. Only 4 conditions to remember, so it's simple. Check the ice fear level, whether it's between level 1 to level 3. Again, that'll make sense very quickly. You're then going to start a new quarter, 4 quarters to the day. 1 normally you're going to want to use for sleeping, mostly the night. So effectively you've got 3 actions to do that day. Then if you are at the night step, you're going to want to make sure you've got consume some rations for everyone, and then mark a new day on the calendar. If not, it's not the night, then you're going to go back and just do another quarter in here. So weather tables we've talked about here. Different conditions we'll come on to. The fear effect, that is something that's going to sort of bring dread on into the world. There's 3 different levels, 1, 2, and 3, and it starts off at 1, and then every 10 days it's going to increase to 2, and then finally it's going to increase to 3 for the last 10 days of the adventure. Now, during each quarter of the day, there are a variety of actions you can do. You can only do 1 per quarter, and they are as follows. Approach. That is going to be negotiating and finding a new companion. So depending on how well that goes, again, there's some sort of checks you're going to need. You can camp, only available at night though. You can fish. If there's lakes there, go and find some food. Forage, only outdoors, go and find some food. Hunt, outdoors, go and find some food. Because food, as we worked out, at the end of every day, you're going to need to eat. You can rest in the day, but not at night. You can seek, which is going sort of look around, investigate something, or you can travel, and that's moving on. And we've got a little chart here that sort of just explains it nice and neatly for you in here. During the night time phase, you may want to do your camp, and if you do camp, again, we've got a you make a camp check skill. If you fail it, you're going to go on to the camping table roll. And the good thing is, the trouble roll here is it's, again, all hyperlinks. It will dump you right to the back of the book and go through. So approaching is the first action that you can do. Say this is basically trying to negotiate to get a companion into your party. And you're going to roll a d6 initially. And if the ice fear is 1, then if they roll a 1, they won't come to you. If it's 2, 1 and 2, they won't. 3, 4, if it's 3, 1, 2, and 3, they won't come to you. But beyond that, they will come and join you. Camp is what you're going to want to do at night. It's going to get you your hit points back and fatigue. And it does talk about if you're in villages or citadels and things like that. There's some, some variances to the rules in there. Depending on how well you roll, you've got some camp modifiers in here, and then camp trouble tables if you fail the camping. You've got a table here for fishing. Again, you're going to roll your skill, get equal to or under you successfully fish. If not, you've got a fishing trouble table. The same goes with foraging, and they're not all bad. They're mostly bad, but some of them will actually, not be utterly bad, but most of them are going to affect things like they're going to reduce your fatigue, and you may take a variety of hit points by falling into traps and stuff, and you get the same thing with hunting. And I say the final one you can do in the day that's nice and simple is just resting here, which is going to give you some fatigue back, and you can a chance to do first aid. Regarding seeking, if you're in one of the sites, you'll see the sites, we'll come to that in a second. You get to roll on the seek tables for the different sort of buildings or structures that you're on, and it will give you a variety of different interactions. So the main thing you're going to be doing, if you're not going to be getting food, if you've got rations and you're not too tired, is you're going to want to travel. So the first thing you need to do with traveling, check you're not exhausted. If you're not exhausted, you're going to need to do the rest to get your exhaustion down, and then determine how far you can travel. So travel distance and measure the number of hexes you can traverse in a single day. Depends on the terrain from which you started the travel. Also, if you've all got horses, you're going to go a little bit further, and if you're on a site, that also is going to change the distance that you can go. So plains, downs and forests, if you're walking, 2 hexes, horseback 3, mountains 1 hex, horseback 2. So little things to remember. You may get lost, so you're going to need to make some orientation roll to make sure that you go the right way. And again, this is going to depend on terrains and weather. If the terrain's relatively flat and you can see from a distance and you've succeeded your check, you're going to get +20, potentially +30 to this. If it's snowing, bad winds, you're on a mountain and downs, you could end up actually either staying in the same hex you're on or going to a completely random different one. It's getting very much, nearly every roll that you have on the D100 as well will have critical successes and fumbles. The general rule, 5 or less is always going to be a crit, and 100 is going to be a fumble. So it's quite hard to fumble, and you got 5% of critting as well, which is quite nice. There are a variety of sort of slight changes here as well. We've got this ice sphere. So as the ice sphere changes, it may make encounters happen more often. Most encounter rolls in this game are a D10, and a 1 basically means an encounter. So 2 through to 10, nothing. But again, as the ice sphere, it gets harsher, then there is more chance of encounters. Some places you may encounter are the exploring, the taverns and ruins. Now this is completely, it's randomish, if that makes sense, because you can be rolling this yourself through seeking tables, using things like D66 to give you different quests and stuff. Then you're going to randomly roll the encounters. The caverns and ruins are pretty much the same, other than that a cavern, as you can imagine, is natural. A ruin is something that is man-made. So that the ruins, the main mechanical difference you're going to get is they will have doors, okay? First thing you're going to do when you discover a cavern or ruin, other than 3 actually, I should just say, there are 3 pre-made sort of dungeons here. So we've got Tumog, Death, and Cavern of Korg, which they're pre-made at the back. So everything else you're going to have to roll up yourself. So you'll take the sheet that's in the back and then you'll just build it. But it's very simple. So the first thing you'll do is roll a D66 on the sheet table, which is going to give you your quest. Now the quest will give you an idea of where you're doing, the motivation, and the quest room. Now the quest room is the room that ends that quest. And let's say it might be, for example, let's just say you're going to go and find the mayor of a local town. Now, when you are rolling the entrance initially is going to roll D6 and determine the number of passages, so exits out of that room. And then you're going to roll a new room. And there are tables in the back to roll out the rooms, create the rooms, number of doors and things like that. But the essential thing you need to just remember is that when you roll from a D1 to 66 on the random room, that's always going to give you the quest room. So that's just going to give you the final thing to come along. It's very simple and streamlined. And I like the fact it's just across a couple of pages to say you're going to need those tables. It's really essential that you either get a PDF copy as well as a physical copy, but you're kind of going to want the extra tables in here. I say with the caverns, as I said, we've got that slight wiggle here with the The rooms, they will have doors, secret doors, and potentially staircases as well. So these are going to be a little bit bigger, which means, like I said right at the start, you're going to want your lockpicks, because every time you got to pick a lock, if you fail, your locks are going to break. But in essence, it's the same thing. Now, companions are people you're going to find. They're going to help you on your quest. You're going to need food. There are a couple of exceptions, which I'm going to skip. Again, I don't want to sort of spoil some of the creature names that you're going to come here. They've got their own unique hit points, which is going to be in effect once we get into combat, and they will have their own fatigue. You can get rid of them as well at any stage if you want to sort of dismiss them. They can. So here are some of them. I'm not going to sort of read out the names. If you want to sort of pause it and kind of spoil little bits for yourself, you can. But effectively what's going to happen is they will come with a melee, defense, damage, perception bonus. So this is actually going to add to your skills. And again, can take you above the 80. They're going to give you some bonus skills in here as well. And then I think is it all rations apart from one? Yeah, they're all going to give you rations apart from one, because one of them doesn't need food, and that's quite nice, because if you haven't got to feed them, it does make things easier. Ultimately, we're going to find that combat is going to be unavoidable. As it says, combat in Morkin is melee, close range, without cover. Okay, combatants alternate turns until one flees or one is defeated. Now, you can try and run away at the start. You can make a stealth check, and if you pass the stealth check and they fail the perception check, you can get away. The combat is going to happen. It's basically inevitable. You are going to discover things that you're going to need to fight at some stage. So when the combat starts, we will go straight into initiative. So roll an opposed perception check against the enemy to determine who goes first. If there's more than one enemy, just pick the one with the highest perception. And if you succeed and you beat them, you're going to get a +1 bonus to your first melee attack. And again, variety of other bonuses. If you get a critical, it's going to be +20 to that check. But in event of a tie, good thing is Morkin's always going to go first. And once we get into combat, it uses action points, and I like action points. So it's slightly more in depth than other games that you will have played, because some games, you get a quick action, full action, movement action, whatever it may be. This is just action points. You don't need to worry about movement in combat because everyone stood next to each other, but every round you're going to get 10 action points, and if you don't spend them, they sort of disappear at the end of the round, and then you get another 10 once it's actually your turn again. Now, we'll give you an idea of what we can do. So standard action, so just do a normal attack with an equipped weapon, is going to cost you 6. Drink a potion, 2. Do a first aid check on yourself or your companions, it's going to be 5 in here. You can assist companions, do a desperate attack, which is going to add a d6 +1 damage to you, but it's going to drop your defense value to 1. And there's other things in here, imply venom to a weapon and to try and poison them and stuff like that. But as a general rule, for attacking, you're going to be rolling a d100 to get equal or to less than your melee. However, there's a little wiggle that you need to basically roll above their defense value. So if the creature's defense value is 30 and you've got a skill of 60, you need to roll between 31 and 60 to hit. Okay, so you need to roll under your skill, but above their defense value. That's the only thing you need to remember. But also, if you roll a 5 or less, it's automatically a crit. So you've got that extra bonus that you get a crit. 100, sadly, is fumble. We've got some crit tables here and fumble tables too. You can flee combat if you want to make a defense check. Damage, you're just going to be rolling normally the d6 for the weapon. I don't think there's anything else that I found that there are some multiple d6s, if that makes sense. But I don't remember finding anything with the d10. It's going to add any pluses. So for the example here, you've got a d6 +2. It's going to do 8 damage. But if you've got any absorption, some of the creatures will have absorption. You will have some for your armor. That's just going to sort of take off that armor as well. If you get to 0 hit points, done. This is an old school game. 0 hit points mean you're out of the game. Okay, so bear that in mind. Companions are going to take damage as well. So you're going to want to sort of heal them during combat. And it sort of goes in turn order who actually takes the damage if there's multiple combatants in here. When you want to heal, you can actually try to heal in combat. So that was a variety of some of the action points. I think it was 5 I just said. But you can use first aid skills. There are a variety of other magical effects, herbs like sweet flame leaves and venom thorn leaves. There are some restrictions, so you can only do it during rest actions once per room as well. So the 4 conditions of the game: hungry, If you don't eat for days, your base is going to start increasing your fatigue. You'll become exhausted if your fatigue ever exceeds your maximum fatigues, which basically means you can't travel. If you're poisoned, you're going to start losing hit points until you're it's 2 hit points a day until you're cured. And when you're bleeding, you're going to be losing 4 hit points a day, again, until a successful first aid check. And that's it. We are now at the start of the game. And the start of the game, there's a variety of things to read here. It tells you about the weather, and it tells you to start at the Tower of the Moon. So again, I don't want to kind of spoil this. This goes, your adventure has begun. I'm going to show you some of the events. I'm going to show you some of the quests, and then show you the tables and the creatures and stuff like that. But this is all you need to know. These first sort of 60 pages will just get you through. But let's just pick one of the events at random here. So what did I say? 155, I think, was in there. Let's just pick the flute here. So it comes from event 66, which is one of the quests. And it's going to sort of give you something to read and some text that goes on. And then, for example, for this one, this event is just going to roll on the potions tables in here. Some of them are more choose your own adventures. So we've got the, here we go, the Lantern Bearer. So some text, again, don't really want to spoil it. You follow the lantern. What happens if you succeed? What happens if you fail? And what happens if you just ignore it entirely? So let's just show you some of the quests. So these are when you go in the ruins or in the caverns in here. So again, it's 50 odd. So again, don't want to sort of spoil anything, but the Haunted Echo here. So you're going to arrive at a desolate ruin surrounded by dead ice-covered trees. It gives you the inhabitants, what's actually within the ruin itself. So here's the quest room. The idea of the quest room. So locate and defeat the Whispering Slave. Remember, when you're rolling random rooms, if you roll from 61 to 66 on that D66, that is the room it's going to give you. It's going to give you 10 silver coins and 10 experience, plus possibly something you're going to get for killing the Whispering Slaves. So that's all the different quests that's going to be in there. It does say if you ever roll the same one again, if it's got a specific NPC, re-roll it and just pick a different one. So let's just look at the bestiaries. So each of the creatures in here, they're going to have a name, the type, so whether they're, sort of a beast of death, humanoid, give you a good description, the statistics that we're going to be using, any sort of special attacks, consequences and stuff like that. I think the best thing to do is just give you an example. And so some have art, some don't. We're going to go with the Bone Collector here. So the Bone Collector is a grotesque, imposing figure with skeletal frame covered in patches and decaying flesh and cold iron shackles that rattle with all its movement. 45 hit points and melee is 60. So when this wants to make attack, it's got to roll 60 or less. It's got a defense of 60, which means defense value of 30. Do you remember? That's what we're saying about. So when we're going to hit this, we roll, let's say our skill 60 again, keep it simple. So we're going to roll 60 or 31 between that window, or a 5 or less, and we'll hit it. Perception is going to affect its initiative, and this is the XP that it's going to get when you kill it, or each one of them. So if there's multiples, you're going to get multiple XP. When it attacks, it's going to roll a d6, and you're going to determine the type of attack it's got. If it manages to roll a crit in here, so when it makes its attack roll, it's going to give the impact of its crit, it's going to give the impact of its fumble, and then once you kill it, not only do you get the XP, you're going to get some loot here as well. So I say there are a lot of different creatures, and then we're going to, once we get through this, so this is Doomdark's specific creatures and some dragons. I say a little bit spoily. I probably should have said there are some spoilers in here. Once we do that, though, we are going to get into specific named creatures as well, which again, going to kind of sort of skip on through because I don't want to spoil that. And then the rest of the book, so we've now got 40 pages of tables, and this is how simple this game is. This is where the companions are, the camping trouble tables, all your encounter tables for random. Remember, normally a 1 on a d10 is going to give you some random encounters. Got some equipments as well as costs to buy. Say everything is in the back. Here's the difference. So when I was saying about whether you're on a plains, mountain, downs, forest, This will roll on your D66, will just give you the different events, and again, all hyperlinked, take you through to the different events there. Fishing trouble, foraging tables, foraging trouble, hunting trouble, poisons tables, ruins and caverns, encounters in here, exploration tables, so when you're going around the rooms, if you find a secret room, we've got some tables here, D10 for secrets, some other D10 tables here for other stuff as well. More ruin tables, which is then going to give you your different quests that are going to go in there. Snow halls, encounters. If we get into the markets, things will have average prices as well, and your charisma is going to have an effect on the different values of things that you can buy and sell as well. If you want to randomly create your maps, you can. And if you want to create this with a games master, all the rules are here, so you can go and see it at your own time. So we've got the 3 caverns that I'm just going to scroll past because they are the pre-made caverns that you will discover. And so I just want to spend a little bit of time, just quickly end this on the character sheet here. So here we've got the character sheet here for Morkin, your 4 attributes up here, your HP defense value, fatigue, which is between max and current, number of bandages, rations, lockpicks, and silver coins, and then your conditions. What's in your backpack? All your different skills, and then the bonuses you're going to get, the equipment that you're going to wear, and companions. But this is the main sheet that you're going to use as well as your adventure sheet. So this has got your 30 days in here, and then the different fear factors in here. A reminder of the weather, your different actions, whether you're morning, afternoon, evening, and night. So this is going to have camp and rest is going to be changed in. Then when you're fighting, it's going to help you with companions and enemies, keeping track of hit points. So you're going to want a couple of these because you're going to have a fair amount of fights. Your map here, which is your pre-made map if you want to run it rules as written. If you want to create your own, here it is as well. And then finally, these are the maps. Let me just sideways this. This is what's going to help you create the ruins and caverns, and it's got all the reminders here of whether it's a number of rooms that you're going to roll, whether it's doors, room types, etc. It's amazingly easy to actually run this. It feels like when it turned up, I was like, this is going to be quite heavy. I think there's a lot in here. I think it's probably going to be too much for me to initially cope with and get in, because say you get sort of 40 pages in, but it actually flows incredibly well. Now, I think from my 2 plays, I'm going to say that I had an absolute blast with this. It's very simple. It's a D100 roll under. It's just a nice, easy mechanic that I think most people couldn't work out and sort of stick to easily. So you get that companions, they sort of step in, or you get some equipment that helps. It's just going to give a static +2, +5 bonus, whatever it may be. Crits are nice and easy. 5 or less, automatically crit in. 1, automatic fumble. So you can gauge everything, which is, I think that's the beauty of these games, is some of these games, they can have additional rules that make it a little bit more complicated, but this just doesn't. It is so simple. When you do damage to something, has it got absorption? Yes, just take that absorption off. Nothing depletes, so armor doesn't sort of wear and tear in here. I was a bit concerned initially with the making my rooms up and stuff like that. I'm used to playing things like Canethalis and other solo games now, so my confidence for building rooms is a little bit easier. This, I would say, from a difficulty point of view, this is one of the easier ones, purely because when I showed you that ruins and caverns table, it's got both down the side. So you just need to remember, if it's a cavern, it's natural, so there's no doors, there's no secret exits and secret rooms and stuff like that. But in essence, once you've got the flow for one, you're going to get the flow for the other. So I think the only concern I have with this, other than the fact that I didn't win it, which is not a bad thing, because I think if you do this on the first go, it's going to feel okay. But that's sort of 2 concerns is the companions. You kind of know where they're going to be. And there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of variety in here. But more importantly, like all of these solo games, and I think this is why when you play things like Canethalis, there is additional booklets coming out. There's never going to be enough options of rooms and room types. Because once you've played this, I think probably 5, 6, maybe 7 times, you're going to start seeing the same things again and again. I don't know for sure because I haven't played it enough to know, but I kind of just get that slight feeling that I kind of want to see more, or the ability to create them. But the thing that makes it even more exciting for me is the fact you can then go and create your own map and your own hex crawl map and stuff like that. And that is a stroke of genius, because by giving the players, well, I say the players, you, the ability to do that, it does make things a lot easier. So you can run it as a GM, but I just like these now. If I've got a spare hour at night, I've got my table, it's all set up, so I just get it out, carry on. You're going to want to keep your log, because, well, also, I'd like to come back and look at these in a few years' time. But this is, I think, D100, so simple. D66, it's the same as a D100, but using D66. It's probably one of the more simple. So I'd say this is midweight, just because of the additional tables that you've got. Buy the physical copy. You're going to need a physical copy of the book, definitely, to run this. You're going to want a copy of the PDF as well, because you're going to want that. I like to have my book and my iPad out, but I said I've got all those tables printed off as well, stapled together, because I'm old and I've got a stapler, and it just means you can flick through things an awful lot quicker. But it's a great game. It really is fun. It really is. Just want to say again, thank you, Juan, for sending this over to me. Look forward to what you write and create next. Say the physical copy, the black and the silver writing is really, really stunning. Artwork is amazing, so I'm going to leave it there. If you're going to pick this up, please do consider using my affiliate link, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.